We begin this hour in Virginia, where President Trump marked Memorial Day with a wreath-laying ceremony at Arlington National Cemetery. The president was flanked by his vice president and defense secretary as he honored Americans who have made the ultimate sacrifice.
In every hour of peril, in every moment of crisis, American warriors have left behind the blessings of home and family to answer their nation's call. They've offered all that they had within them and given their last breaths to each and every one of us that we might live safe and breathe free.
But yesterday, before the president memorialized these fallen soldiers, he took a rare swipe at Vladimir Putin, criticizing the Russian leader's handling of the war in Ukraine.
I'm not happy with what Putin's doing. He's killing a lot of people, and I don't know what the hell happened to Putin. I've known him a long time, always gotten along with him, but he's sending rockets into cities and killing people, and I don't like it at all, okay? We're in the middle of talking, and he's shooting rockets into Kiev and other cities. I don't like it at all.
Scott MacFarlane is at the White House with more. And Scott, the reason we're talking about this is because these comments really mark the strongest tonal shift since President Trump posted on social media weeks ago, Vladimir, stop. What does it signify to you?
It really is rare for President Trump to issue this public rebuke to Vladimir Putin. He just doesn't have a lot of muscle memory doing that in the first term or so far in the second term. And it wasn't just those remarks here at the White House last night. It was a social media post as well in which he tried to light a fire beneath Vladimir Putin, criticizing him for continuing the onslaught in Ukraine. Actually, you see it there. He says he's gone absolutely crazy. Some pretty declarative language from President Trump against Vladimir Putin. But there have been scathing words from President Trump over the past 24 hours against a lot of people. He also criticized Volodymyr Zelensky in Ukraine, saying that Zelensky's rhetoric is inflaming the situation more. And during these remarks just now at Arlington National Cemetery, these traditional remarks from a U.S. president in which they honor those who've given their lives, in which he honors the war dead, he also criticized President Biden's administration over the last 4 years, he says, of failures. That is an untraditional part of a traditional event. So criticisms of Vladimir Putin, Volodymyr Zelensky, and President Biden all in the past 24 hours from President Trump.
Well, let's get everybody caught up on the other headlines that are coming out of the White House. The president announced he's delaying tariffs on the European Union until July. Remember, late last week, he said that the negotiations were going nowhere. He had to put these 50% tariffs on the EU. Do we know how this came about and what happens next?
Well, we know what happens next. There's this fog of uncertainty that happens next, and everybody's going to have to fight their way through because the tariffs aren't off. According to the president's social media post, this tariff that he has put in place against the European Union, this massive trade partner of the United States, has been delayed from June 1st to July 9th, giving them more time to talk, to try to cut the deals that have been so elusive since the president began this tariff battle. The conversations will continue, but what happens next exactly is far from clear. And that, Lindsay, is what's causing so much economic anxiety, even among the president's allies. You see there the European Union president, Ursula von der Leyen, saying that she had a good call with the president and they share the world's consequential and most prized trade relationship. But this economic uncertainty persists.
And economic anxiety also caused by this budget bill. We know that the markets reacted last week. The president now getting some pushback from the Senate, who has been the most outspoken among really GOP senators, his own party. And do you think there will be enough support to get it passed, or will there have to be significant changes?
Oh, it's a great question, Lindsay. Whether there's enough support is an open question in the U.S. Senate, but who is pushing back? That is distinctive and particularly newsworthy. Among the most vocal critics is one of the president's most staunch allies, Wisconsin Senator Ron Johnson. In his third term, he is saying that too much of this could inflame the deficit and the national debt, which he says has been a particular project of his since he came into office in 2011. Ron Johnson says he wants to see changes to avoid incurring so much debt. And changes are a tricky thing here, Lindsay. This thing sneaked through the U.S. House with just one vote to spare. If they bring it back changed into the U.S. House weeks from now, it's hard to see if they could get it through again with such a limited margin. So let's see what happens in the U.S. Senate if deficit hawks and Trump allies like Ron Johnson and Kentucky's Rand Paul continue to criticize the bill and seem to be forcing through changes.
Scott MacFarlane, who never takes a day off. Thank you.